Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a walkthrough of my Oracle deck, the 5 Points Oracle deck. I know, original, right? Um, but today's video is going to kind of like go through each card and explain what the Oracle deck is about. So my intentions for the deck when I started creating it, and I'm thinking of a 2.0 already, for a three-parter. What I intended to do it as is a two-card pool to see like where you're at. Could possibly do a three-card pool, but I intended it to be a two-card pool. So we have a 32-card deck with 16 life cycle cards and 16 reflection cards. So like 1 and 16 will, or 1 and 17 will relate to each other in that kind of aspect. Like if you pulled the life cycle and that reflection card 1 and 17, it would say you're kind of struggling with the same kind of mentality right now. You're struggling with your subconscious and conscious mind. So the life cycle portion is the conscious mind, and then the reflection is the subconscious mind, if that makes sense. So for instance, let's say you pulled, hang on, I've separated them so it can be easier, so I don't have to like go randomly scrolling through. Let's say you pulled 1 and 17. These cards correlate with one another. So the baby boy is like the Fool. It's the new journey, fresh start, change, adventurous, and that kind of like mentality. So those are like the key words to that. The Joy is the subconscious, so it's more like innocence, ignorance, naivety, irresponsibility, spontaneous. So it's kind of like if you pull these, they go hand in hand with one another. If you pull them opposite, then maybe your subconscious mind is trying to tell you something and you need to look into things, whereas your conscious mind is like, okay, well, I know I'm on a new journey, but am I being naive in some way? So like, let's say you pull it that way. I didn't really set it up to do a kind of like a reversal, but you can do it that way if you want. It's more, I set it up to do just an upright kind of thing where you have the life cycle card and the reflection card. So those are those two. So you have the baby boy, and then for the reflection side, number 17, the Joy. And yes, I put the maypole in there because I had to throw that out there because Beltane is coming up and I'm super stoked about it. If you're pagan, you're probably stoked about it too. The next we have the Toddler and the Learning. So we have 2 and 18. The Toddler is more the life cycle of being playful, excited, king of the castle, foolish kind of mindset. So, you know, you're growing into that kind of like toddler phase. The Learning is more about like being stubborn, I want it all, unclear of things, willing to learn though. So you are dealing with those two when you deal with these two cards. Then we have the Kid and the Growing. So these go hand in hand with each other. And again, you don't have to pull them this way. You're not looking to like try and pull, oh, I hope I pull the Kid and the Growing. I hope you don't have to do that. This is more of like, where are you at with your life cycle? And like you, for instance, you could pull like, let's say 2 life cycle cards. Let's say you pull the Kid and then the Toddler. That might mean you're moving back in your mindset. Like you're not learning. You're kind of going back to something that's bad for you maybe, or a mindset that kind of like tricked you into believing certain things. If you've heard of Eric Erickson in his 8 stages of psychosocial development, he talks about how each life cycle stage or psychosocial stage, you have something you learn in that thing. So your very first stage is trust versus mistrust. Do you learn trust in that stage? If not, and you move on, let's say you get all the way to where you're grown up and you're in the 5th stage, or even in the end stage of your life, but you still haven't formulated the ability to trust, you've skipped a psychosocial development stage and you still need to learn how to build trust. So that's kind of like what that would interpret. I kind of went off of that kind of psychosocial stage development thing, if that makes sense. I know that's very complex, and my mind went very psychological with this card process. A lot of people are like, why did you just do a male deck? Well, I haven't seen a lot of male oracle decks out there, and I have seen a lot of people say that men can't be witches, men can't do Wicca, men can't blah blah blah. Just remember there is such thing as reverse sexism, and people can do it. And I won't get into that full-blown topic. There are good people out in the universe, and there are some that are just kind of still have that ignorant mindset. And that's kind of what this kind of interprets. Have you moved forward or have you moved backwards in how you pull your cards? So on my side, you're probably seeing it as, I think you're probably seeing it the right side this way, whereas this, I don't know, it's reversed. I'll try and fix it, or like reverse the camera for the editing. But yeah, so you can pull 2 life cycle cards or 2 subconscious cards. So what I intended to have, if you pull 2 life cycle cards, that is kind of saying you're very woke. Whereas if you pull 2 subconscious cards, that you really need to go inner deep with yourself. Like, it's like pulling the final stage card, which is the very end card. And it's like the Hermit. So the ending, which is card 16, and the card 32, the final stage, are like the Hermit in the tarot card spread. So it's very like, you might need to go on an inner journey if you get the final stage and then another card. Or like if you just get 2 reflection cards. It's like, it's probably your subconscious saying you need to go on an inner journey and figure out what's going on and learn what you're not bringing to the surface. Because this isn't something that's surface level. This is something that's deep, and you need to kind of like dig for it. Let's go Freudian with it and let's dig for it. But yeah, if that makes sense. If you do have any questions, go ahead and comment below. I'm fully able to talk about this because this oracle deck is very psychology to me, and me being a PhD student in clinical psychology, I had to do this because it made more sense to me to like be like, let's see where we're at. Let's use the spirit guides and gods and goddesses to figure out where I'm at. Am I leveled? 2 life cycle cards. Am I woke? 2 subconscious cards, reflection cards. Is there something I need to look for? So it's meant to be that kind of 2-card pull deck. However, the kid is, the dreamer, caught up, kind of like cops and robbers, that kind of mentality. Determination, very determined kid, willing to learn and stuff like that. The growing is more of understanding, can be living in a fantasy, delusions of grandeur. And that's why I'm saying if you want to do reversals, and you can put those on that, where like this would be like delusions of grandeur and living in a fantasy, whereas this is being understanding, you can do that. I just kind of like put it this way. So I'm going to be working on a guidebook for this so everyone can kind of understand it. So I can hopefully one day in the future add a PDF copy to this, or if not, add my email to where you can buy these cards to download the guidebook. Okay. Then we have the adolescent and the transitioning. So the adolescent is about being, kind of confused, zoned out, too cool for school attitude, and still very impressionable. So like, again, with some of these, you can do a reversal on that. The transitioning can be like a kind of a lost feeling, fragile ego, bad temper, maybe kind of some sneaky attributes to yourself. So, and that's why I said with some cards, they don't really have a reversal to it. So it just depends on how you're feeling towards the card, because when you're reading oracle cards, you really have to like look at the card and feel what it's saying to you. Because when you use your spirit guides and your gods and goddesses to like help you in your readings, I feel like they kind of pull that out of you. So when you see a card, you're like, oh, okay, so this might not be a lost feeling, but maybe I am acting from a fragile ego. So keep that in mind as well. Then we have the teen and the fitting in. So the teen is about, kind of that bratty attitude, lazy, very outspoken, kind of wanting to be the know-it-all. Whereas the fitting in is more about kind of that insecure feeling, not sure of who you are yet, and just, again, trying to just fit in. So this is kind of those cards in a nutshell. Then we have the Rebel and the Rebellion. This is supposed to be a honey badger because the honey badger don't give a shit. The Rebel is defiant, very obsessive in some ways, can be sinful and imbalanced, whereas the Rebellion, you can have that indifferent feeling, control issues, vulnerability, and kind of being materialistic, kind of like the Devil card. And that's what I was seeing with this card, is like I was seeing the Devil. Sometimes you can get caught up in being too materialistic, and that's not the best place for anyone. This card is kind of when it came to, I know some people might be like, it's very similar to that one card, but it's just because of the name, and I didn't want it to do it that way. But again, I didn't want to say, you have the young man in this deck, so the transitioning teen is where it came from. So, when you're going from graduating high school and you're about to go into college, the transitioning teen is kind of like showing an ending of one chapter and a life-changing event. So you're kind of like moving on to a new you. And the independent, which is this side, is kind of the resistance, the transition, taking a stand, new life. You are now an adult, so you are going to have to make those hard decisions. You have to fight for what you believe in, and that's what those two cards are kind of about. Then, and if you ever gone to college or grad school or even done a PhD, you will get this kind of emotion from these cards. So we have the Scholar and the No Sleep. The No Sleep. The Scholar kind of talks about, broadening your horizons, kind of being intellectual, having a professional mentality, a new kind of like new stage into that kind of lifestyle. Whereas the No Sleep is kind of indecisive, can have a kind of be kind of fickle, sometimes discriminatory, unfavorable. The discriminatory part is more like, as when you get into grad school and you become if you've done anything in philosophy, you become very philosophical and you're always like, okay, in my theory. So it's kind of one of those things. So you can be discriminatory towards someone else's belief system, and that's where that kind of came in. So with the No Sleep, really, if it's in the unconscious, it means like kind of open your horizons to things around you, because there's knowledge everywhere, and just because you think something's factual does not mean it actually is. Because a lot of these kids nowadays are going on Facebook and going, oh my God, that's the truth. Just because Facebook said it doesn't mean it's true. Find your facts, scholarly articles. Then we have the Young Man and the New World. The Young Man is about someone who's charismatic, simplistic, can be childish at times, a sensitive ego, because you're starting a whole new life and you're going into your business life. You're no longer in school. It's that feeling of, like, I have to be an adult now, but I don't want to, because now I have responsibilities. And the New World is kind of like, sometimes that subconscious is saying, you're overcompensating. Maybe you're buying a suit that you can't afford. Telling yourself that you're better than everyone else, but hey, you might have to go back to that dime a dozen. You're not better than everyone else. You have to like check your ego. Industrious, and then some resentment maybe. So really look into that as well. The Professional and the Businessman are the next cards. The Professional is about being adapted, I swear I can speak, strategic, determined, and sometimes impatient. So the Businessman on the unconscious side might say you're being a little too snobby. You are passionate, so that's a good thing, but determine where your passion is actually at. You can be egotistic and sometimes instinctive. Oh my God, my computer went dull and dead. Oh, whatever. The Adult and the Settle Down are next. So the Adult is about, you're smart with your choices. you budget, you work off a schedule, and you're living a comfortable life. You're no longer just this young man who's trying to make a name for himself. The settle down is about, house projects, dating, 9 to 5, a bedtime routine, and being grounded. So this is telling you that, if you pull this with any other card, it's telling you, hey, you might be in this life cycle, but you're very grounded. You've kind of got a routine going, and that's a good thing for you. So that's why I say, if you want to throw some reversals into this and say, maybe I'm not working off a routine, think about something opposite of that. You can if you want. I didn't intend this deck to be a reversal kind of deck. I don't know if that's like a major thing. I'm new to tarot, and I'm kind of like almost certified in it. I'm just trying to get to that last hurdle of being certified in it. But still new. I'm Baby Witch Tarot, and this deck I wanted to do kind of, like I said, I wanted to kind of do a psychology kind of spin on it. The next two cards are the Husband and the Lovers. The Husband is, fresh love, new identities you're learning about each other, kind of like having to cohabitate, bonding, kind of blessed feeling. I found the one. The Lovers can, in their subconscious side, can mean like rose-colored glasses, hopeless romantic, my partner can do no wrong. And then sometimes maybe even a happy feeling, overjoyous of being able to feel like you found the person you mesh well with. This doesn't always have to be a partner. This could be a good friend. You may have be like, oh, what's going to happen? And this pops up, and then a new person pops into your life, and that person just gets you. Kind of like the Lover's card, but also kind of like the Three of Cups, kind of like a combination. Then we have the New Father and the Authoritarian. The New Father is about, preparing, being prepared, controlling self-doubt, maybe being overwhelmed, and that the struggle is real kind of feeling. The struggle is real. That. The Authoritarian can kind of have that anxiety, responsibility, battle of will, sometimes maybe abuse of power. So this is why I could say sometimes you can have that reversal right there. So with some cards, they kind of have a reversal to them. I didn't really think about that until too late. So when I make this book, I might kind of come up with some new terms for reversals. But for now, this is how I have it. The next two cards are the Experienced Father and the Helping Hand. The Experienced Father is about lessons learned, being helpful, and still being able to learn. You're not too old to learn. The Helping Hand is more about fixing problems for others. Maybe you're a professional therapist or a psychologist, a doctor, something of that nature, and again able to ask for help though still. And you're kind of you've got a teacher mindset. You've got the ability to teach others. You're an influencer. Then we have the Grandfather and the Wise One. The Grandfather, is about being wise, philosophical, having an inner peace, whereas the Wise One is, you have an enlightened feeling because, you are at a stage of life where you know things and you can help people. Sometimes you can be like the hermit and be a little antisocial. You may have lost someone in your life, or something may have happened to where it pushed you into a bubble where you're isolating yourself. Sometimes maybe even at ease feeling. I kind of chuck this character up to Mr. Miyagi, and that's who I get from it, or this subconscious, wax on, wax off. That's what I get from this card, and sometimes this card. The last two, we have the Ending, and I know this is a sad card because, it's like death. It's like death and the world combined. So we have the end of a chapter. This chapter is complete. Close that door, lock it, it's complete. Things are being changed and resolved. Something might be missing if, again, like I said, this could be a reversal. Some of these cards I kind of came up with a reversal aspect to them too. The final stage is about resolution, sometimes regret, unfinished business, or an overall satisfied feeling. So that is my Oracle deck. 1 through 32. I can count, ma. But it's was more for being a psychological deck. I know this is a very long video. It's 20 minutes. If you want to buy it, you can. I'll put the link below. Other than that, if you have questions about any of this, go ahead and comment below. And until next time, I will see you all later. Have a good one.